So I suppose I would say Wife is a work that is inspired by A Doll's House or derived from A Doll's House. So I'd argue that a play like Wife is an original piece of work. It happens to interrogate the play itself, so it uses the play itself within its storytelling. And also, obviously, it uses some of Ibsen's themes, it reworks some of Ibsen's themes, and I suppose also some kind of tonal shifts within Ibsen and some of the patterns that A Doll's House explores. I then explore those things in my play with my new characters and in new original scenarios. I suppose in a way, it has a kind of relative in kind of parallel works in fiction, actually. You know, that sometimes a fiction novel may take a character from an existing novel and then write a completely original work about that marginal character. It's something like that. I think an adaptation of an Ibsen play, I think I would describe a play of mine called Mrs. Affleck, which, although it has a new title, took Little Eyolf by Ibsen and relocated that in 1950s England. And I would call it an adaptation because, to all intents and purposes, it follows the story structure of Ibsen and indeed the characters and by and large the themes. But I think that adaptations can move quite a long way away from Ibsen's themes because, or it can intensify them because obviously the new location and the new setting is being done for particular reasons. And obviously it throws up new things. So for example, there's recently in London, there was A Doll's House by the writer Tanika Gupta, and she relocated the play from 1879 Christiani to 1879 Calcutta. And that meant, in many ways, it cleaved quite closely to the original Ibsen in terms of its essential storytelling and its characters, and even sometimes on a kind of line-by-line basis, it felt familiar to anybody who knew the play. But on all sorts of other levels, it managed to find things that were unique to that setting, and some of them were very, very interesting. So there was a whole new racial element which was very, very important to Tanika's storytelling, and it was particularly clear in the relationship, I think, between the Krogstad character and the Nora character. So in Tanika's adaptation, they're called Nero and Korshik. And when Krogstad tries to hold Nora to account about his position in so just to be clear, Torvald is a white British male, and Dr. Rank is a white British male, and everybody else is Indian. And when Korshik holds Nero to account about the way he's being treated by Torvald, it's very interesting because the Nora and Krogstad character in a way become at the centre of their culture, and Torvald is pushed to the periphery as an intruding white male. And where Ibsen's play is very much about women being under the thumb of men, in their scene, Korshik sort of accuses Nora of some kind of cultural assimilation. So suddenly it becomes about all kinds of other things. It's not just about women under the thumb of men. It becomes about Indian women under the thumb of men, and indeed Indian men under the thumb of men. And those men are an invading white imperialist man. And so it's very, and I think that all of that is declared. You know that you're not seeing the place set in Norway. You know you're seeing an Indian version, and it's absolutely the case that the audience would be expecting the adapter to find whatever it is that she can possibly find in the new setting that is interesting. And in so many ways, these things are then intensifications of issues that Ibsen explores in the original. I think what I call a version is possibly a little bit different, although those kinds of approaches to the text, which aren't absolutely faithful, which aren't about creating a text that is a proper academic translation. I think a version is, in the sort of tradition in the English-speaking theatre, it's when a playwright who probably doesn't speak the language of the original source text works with somebody who creates a literal translation, and that is about then creating a text that is for the production that is being done at that moment. So everything that the director of that production, that the designer of that production wants is met with the help of the writer who is creating the version. And sometimes that's just sort of practical things about what the set is doing, about how Ibsen's mise-en-scène might have been played with. And it's also very much, I suppose, about making sure that the text speaks to the time in which we are living. The whole point of doing the play is to mine how relevant it is. So what happens in that case is that in the same way that nobody would expect a director to follow particular decisions of other directors in past productions, or you wouldn't expect the composer to do that, or you wouldn't expect the designer to do that. Because the play in another language can only ever be a representation, it can't ever be the authentic thing for a non-Norwegian speaking audience, the writer becomes part of the creative team, and the writer has a kind of freedom to revisit the text and to make it as relevant as it can possibly be to the demands of the particular production.